Hello and welcome to this week's cryptocurrency review. My name is Bowen and today I'm going to talk about what's going on in the market and Bitcoin. And then what I'm going to start this video off with is a look at a little bit of history. So we're going to start off April 1st, so not that long ago at all. And I'm just going to look at the general movement of our cryptos. You can see I have all of the historical snapshots opened from April 1st until May 6th, so yesterday or 2 days ago. And we're just going to look at the market move because that's really important to see. So this is, again, back in our bear market. You can see by all of the red, the very small amounts of green. Look, Tether is the most green thing in the market. And I just want to look, I want us to all to look at the market moving. I think it's important to see, especially when we move on, and you see something like this. You see there's very little movement going on here at all. The one major mover we're seeing is Binance coin showing up and Tron shifting its position, which we will see a little bit more in the future. But in terms of our top 10, we are seeing literally no change. This is very interesting to me as we are just seeing the market start to recover here. You can see with all the little bits of green. And then the next day, the market is finally recovering. And with the market recovering, we're seeing a shift with Dash. Dash and NEM starting to take over and Binance coin dropping back down a little bit. And by dropping down, I mean it is still gaining in market valuation, 1.4 billion to 1.5 billion. But we're seeing other cryptocurrencies start to take over that, so it's kind of stagnating. Then as we move on a little bit more, we're seeing a major move, actually two major shifts. The first major shift is our top 5 cryptocurrencies changing. So from right here with 6.5 and 7.1, we are now seeing an increase to 8.3, but instead of EOS being that 6.5, we're now seeing a 9.2. That was during EOS's massive 38% spike, which then continued, but I'll get there in a second. And we are seeing EOS take over Litecoin in the top 5 position. Our second major change we're seeing is NEO and IOTA switching from both about 4.2 to a position of 4.8, and this IOTA massive growth to 5.4. We're seeing the market change, along with Tron switching with NEM. Moving on a little bit farther, we can then see Litecoin being taken over by Cardano. Litecoin again now stagnating 8.3 to 8.6, and Cardano taking over. We watch and we kind of wonder, is this going to be continued growth? And with this, we're also seeing Tron step up into 10th place and Monero step down with that. Moving up to our most recent snapshot, we have EOS gaining even more. Just kidding. EOS is finally stalling because that massive 82% 7-day run-up made it so it couldn't go any farther. And Litecoin starts to come back. You can see Cardano is not at all going down. It's 9.6 to 9.1. That's fine. But Litecoin is making a pretty more major comeback from 8.6 all the way to 9.9, give or take. We're also seeing a really interesting move with Monero coming back and Dash coming back as well. Well, Dash is pretty much stagnating, moving down just a little bit. But Dash and Monero, these privacy coins, are always going to be up there, or at least some sort of privacy coins are. Taking history into account, let's look at today, and let's look at the overall market capitalizations. We have Bitcoin in first, Ethereum in second, Ripple in third. Our trifecta for the last while. Bitcoin Cash in fourth, still being there because it is Bitcoin's backup. EOS now in 5th, taking over Litecoin, now by a good margin. It's going to be a while before Litecoin or anything else takes over. And Litecoin barely managing to stay ahead of Cardano and Stellar. You can see we have a 9.2 right here with Litecoin, 8.6, and a 7.2. What does this all mean? Well, it means that the market is growing overall. We can see now in our top 5, we are now starting to value, and more than just top 5, but in our top 10 and such, we are valuing cryptocurrencies more than just currencies. Bitcoin is our currency. Ethereum is our decentralized application builder based off of smart contracts. What is EOS? Some people don't know. They just know it's booming. EOS is an infrastructure blockchain cryptocurrency similar to Cardano, NEO, and Ethereum. The difference is it is fundamentally superior. Well, theoretically. EOS does not actually have a released product yet, meaning that it is not superior at the moment, but there's a lot of hype in the project. You will see other cryptocurrencies, one I will talk about is Lambda, that are also in the space trying to take over this infrastructure blockchain position. If we actually look at infrastructure blockchains, we have Ethereum, EOS, Cardano, IOTA. IOTA as well. IOTA is a little bit different, but IOTA as well. And NEO going down to 11th place. We are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in our top 11. I know it's not top 10, but 4 in our top 10. And that is really huge. The rest of them are, what is this? A transfer token. This is a cloud-based fiat currency. This is a ripoff of Bitcoin. This is a kind of different ripoff of Bitcoin. A little bit different, though, of course. Stellar is banking, and Tron is going to go back down. When we look at this, we're really seeing that cryptocurrencies are starting to adapt growth of actual use rather than just a currency to exchange value. If we look lower than that, we can see, again, more than just a way to exchange value, although these are less good examples. But for example, ICX right here, or Icon, sorry, not ICX, Icon right here, which is not a mean to exchange value. Lisk, which again, you can build things off of. Binance Coin, which is an exchange of value, but for a particular purpose. OMG and Quantum. You know, we're seeing these real purpose in cryptocurrencies starting to come out, and the purposeful cryptocurrencies surge ahead as we see these things like Bitcoin Gold and Bytecoin and Zcash go down. Going on to the next thing, I want to look at our overall market capitalization in terms of dominance. We are seeing a slight dip in the market right now, and we are seeing that very accurately reflected with our market capitalization. We had some steady growth with Bitcoin growing very steadily, hit a cap of around 467 billion, and now we're going down to 430 billion. Looking down at our non-Bitcoin total market capitalization, we can see exactly the same thing, as I always say. But it is important to look at both because of the next thing I want to talk about, which is this the separation from Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies? And no, I don't think so. Bitcoin, I think, is still tethered to cryptocurrencies. We were seeing a massive dip here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin's overall market capitalization reaching 35.0, I think, or 35.8. Okay, maybe that was the lowest, somewhere around there. Percent market dominance there is 35.8% market dominance. And I thought this was going to continue, and we might even see new lows. But right now we have seen a spike because as the market overall goes down, people like to put their money in their security, which they consider Bitcoin, because cryptocurrency, Bitcoin is our security. Just like how if you're investing in stocks and the stock market starts to crash, you go back to US dollars. Same sort of thing. With the market going down, you can see this reflected exactly with what I was saying. Others hit a cap, all-time cap of 27 point something or other, 27.15 I think, was that the highest? 27.16 being the highest it has ever reached in terms of market capitalization, which is huge for other cryptocurrencies in the space, the growing cryptocurrencies, the ones with a purpose, the ones with a vision. And with that, and with Bitcoin dipping and with others dipping, we saw Ethereum take over. Ethereum had this massive run-up, and with that also, NEO and other of these cryptos, if I can hide this and I can hide others, and I can hide Ethereum. We can see there's been a run-up of things like Bitcoin Cash, and we can see NEO as well has had a run-up and run down. These are all very important to look at when looking at the market as a whole. Let's jump into a couple of really important biggest gainers and losers. I think it's important to cover with the market, and then we'll jump into some TA on our top 5 cryptocurrencies. Firstly, I want to look at this webpage. So I went to CoinMarketCap, I went to Tools, of course, and I went to, Trenders, Trending, and then I went to Gainers and Losers. And I'm on the 7-day looking at our overall gainers and losers. I want to talk about some big gainers and losers in the space. Looking at, the first one I want to look at is Loom Network has started to erupt. And we can see this has had massive growth ever since it has first came out, had a small dip with a lot of panic sells, as often does, then a growth, little bit of flagging, some growth, little bit of flagging, growth, flagging, and some massive growth with some flagging that is now leading to more massive growth. Loom is really taking over and showing the space what it's got with some solid fundamentals and some really good marketed hype. Another one we have here, because we had Loom here in 13th place, is if we go down to 18th place, we've had Lambden, which you guys have heard me talk about, Lambden Tau. Lambden has finally started to see its reversal after its bottom stagnation with a flag, another growth, a deep flag, and now we're seeing growth once again. Lambden is finally taking off as another one of these, as I mentioned over here, infrastructure cryptocurrencies like Ethereum, EOS, Cardano, IOTA, and NEO. The idea of building off of a platform is Lambda's whole background, and it is doing it in a more revolutionary way than other cryptocurrencies, in my opinion. None of this is investment advice. But I am a huge fan of Lambda, and I'm hugely excited to see where it goes in terms of its price, given that its overall market capitalization, very similar to Loom, is extremely low at only 47 million US dollars. And with Loom at a very low, but a lot high, still low, but a lot higher, 360 million US dollars. Again, this is still not that huge in the crypto space, but this is tiny in the crypto space. If we look, I think Loom is on the front page. There it is. Yep, number 62, and I think it's going to keep rising. Same with Lambda. I think it's very interesting to look at. Second thing I want to look at is noticeable cryptocurrencies in the losing space. That's right. So the first one I want to look at, I'm going to move this tab over, is Neuro Token. So there's a lot of hype around Neuro Token. Right here we can see it's lost 31% the past 7 days. You can see again we had the same sort of scared sell-off, growth, flag, and we thought this might have been a flag, but no, it has just been a drop-off. It looks like people have been losing faith in Neuro Token, even though it had an interesting background. The second one I want to look at is Smart Cash. Smart Cash really was just a spike up and then a drop back down. If you look at its overall chart, you can see that was really just kind of a pump. And if we look more lately, you can see it has just continued to descend. Now let's jump into a little bit of our top 5. Top 5 using one of my favorite tools, an Ichimoku based off of the correct time settings for a 24/7 schedule, moving averages, and Bollinger Bands. Sorry, I always say bonds. Firstly, let's look at Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is obviously what we're all the most interested in. Zooming in really closely here, we can see we've had some pretty sustainable, very healthy growth with a recent flag that has then gone down. This has been interesting and been a detriment to the market. I do think a part of this was the fake news that has been rumored to have Ethereum be checked out by the SEC, but that was fake news, it turned out, and Ethereum is not being checked out by the SEC. This being said, as people realize this, the market has started to turn around. The thing was with the SEC was some people thought that Ethereum was traded as a security, or was illegally sold as a security, even though it is not a security, or at least most people in the crypto space say it is not a security. And so this caused a market dip, especially in Ethereum, which I will get to in 1 second. But it also has caused, I think that is a big cause as to why Bitcoin has been dipping lately. You can see, as often with Bitcoin, though, there's often a run-up with a fake bear trap that then continues upwards. Bear traps are the most common, I would say, technical pattern in Bitcoin. You can see here we had a relative stare up, which would be a continuation pattern. Right here, you would have thought it would have continued upwards, but no, it crashed back downwards. Again, a bear trap to pick up some low Bitcoin. We saw some steady growth, a nice flag that actually did continue upwards, and boom, dropped right back down below flag level with those wicks. We see it grew. We grew here. We saw a nice flag descending to channel, which is bullish, very bullish right here. Boom, drops down, bear trap once again. Again, raises. We can see it here, flags, raises up, which is what you'd expect after a flag, and then boom, drops down, and here we are. Usually after these drops, these low wicks, which you can see, we had one in Bitfinex, which is the graph I'm currently looking at, we had one wick that reached a low of $9,182. We are now seeing an inverse hammer, and we are probably going to see growth moving off this 100-day moving average and the Ichimoku cloud that it had supported. I believe this looks very similar in the Coinbase graph, but it's still important to look at. Yep, looks exactly the same on the Coinbase graph. The only thing I did want to mention that is, I'm switching back to my Bitfinex graph, so there's less lines. The only really important thing I really wanted to mention in Bitcoin that is a little bit worrisome is we are seeing the first bearish cross right here that we have seen in a while. Not including this bearish cross, which then instantly came back. We were seeing this bearish cross happen here. And the last time we saw one of these, it actually held, because, again, I'm not considering this small one because it was very fast. The last one that actually held was right here during our massive Bitcoin recession. Before that, we had not had one in a long time. If you look, these were always riding right on top of each other. So this is very interesting to watch and see how that plays out. It's totally possible that we'll just reverse right through it. But we also had this bearish cross here as this rose, and we are slowly seeing that rise as well. Our 200-day moving average starting to average out. If looking at a log graph, we can see it actually looks a lot better because it was going a little bit too up, and now we're seeing some more steady, more sideways growth. In terms of this log graph, we are looking very good in terms of Bitcoin. Moving on to Ethereum, we saw a massive growth in Ethereum lately in relation to Bitcoin. Of course, I'm looking at Satoshi value, and I'm going to hide this just to make it easier on the eyes. We saw a massive growth here, and I do think that the SEC hearing caused the pump right here because people were very bullish, especially when it was responded with by the Ethereum team saying no, it's not a security, and when the SEC head of the SEC said something very bullish about Ethereum as well. It caused a growth from 0.074-ish to approximately 0.085 or 83. Sorry, there it is. Didn't see it up there. 0.083. And then when the SEC hearing was supposed to happen, the FUD, it dropped it all the way back down to the original growth point. Where now I think we're going to see a reversal. My theory being because the SEC hearing was fake news. We saw, again, with Ethereum, we see a lot less bear traps. We see a lot more steady growth, drop-offs, and then recoveries. So if this is anything like this right here, we are going to see it drop off as we did, right, like that, right? And then we're going to see some steady growth, right, like this. So that is, the general prediction, because if we look, Ethereum's been pretty good with this pattern. Wow, that's right in the way. Ethereum has been pretty good with this pattern right here of little bits of drop, growth, drop, and then growth once again, some sideways movement. So if it exactly followed this pattern, it would then go like this, down, up. So we'll see. Obviously, that's not exact, given that it didn't exactly do that here, but it was pretty close with an up, down, up, and see, that was too small of a dip to really be considered, but generally similar sort of movement. Again, a little dip here, so if we wanted to draw it, we could draw it like this if we wanted. So again, this sort of similar ladder growth. Ethereum has been doing very well as the growth has continued in the general bullish market. In terms of technical analysis, based off of one of my favorite indicators, if I can click it, okay. There we go. Well, we are starting to see some really good movement, I think. We are seeing a bullish cross here, and we are seeing on the 4 hour, which I think is more important to look at in just short term, of course. We saw it bounce right off of this moving average. And I think that's a really good sign for Ethereum as it continues upwards. Next up, let's look at Ripple. Ripple being one of our major market movers, it has still been flagging down here, as are a lot of cryptocurrencies in space. You'll notice Dash looks very similar to this short-term graph. Let's hope I remember correctly, and it is Dash, and I wasn't looking at something else. Yes, it is Dash. So to close this so you can see it a lot more easily, you can see the graphs perfectly overlap this run-up right here. So a general movement upwards right here, like so. Is that as thick as possible? Yes. So general movement upwards, drop down, sideways stagnation. And then with Bitcoin / Ethereum, but mostly Bitcoin's drop, a drop. And we are seeing many cryptocurrencies in the space do a very similar pattern. Simply because, again, we saw that growth. We've seen a little dip as we see, major cryptocurrencies like Ethereum kind of take off and Bitcoin take off. We are seeing people get less into things like Ripple. But we are now seeing what I believe to be the bottom here. I'm not sure, but I am thinking that this will be the bottom because Bitcoin is doing quite well. We've seen this this pullback, and this pullback is very helpful if we go to our, if I can pull it up, stochastic RSI and our RSI, which are both very important technical tools. We are seeing on the 4 hour some very good signs for Bitcoin, with around the 40 for RSI, which is relatively low for Bitcoin, and very bottomed out stochastic RSI. We are seeing a reversal. We're seeing a similar technical pattern on Ethereum and Ripple. Next up is Bitcoin Cash, and you guys know I don't even like talking about Bitcoin Cash very much, but we have seen a run up with it, and that's not surprising given that it is Bitcoin's double. So as Bitcoin goes, it will grow as long as people keep faithful in it, which they are still. So we're seeing again small flag here, but I don't need to spend any more time on Bitcoin Cash because I have no interest in it fundamentally, and I do not trade it personally. Moving on is our crazy grower, EOS. EOS has been flying with support from this line right here, and bouncing off of it, no problem. When we look at it in the 4-hour, we are seeing this infrastructure crypto has the same pattern. As you can see, up, flag downwards, just like so, but it's already starting to reverse. The bulls and EOS are huge. Looking at the overall market capitalization, there we go. You wouldn't think that EOS would be able to pass Bitcoin Cash. It's double away. Well, yes, but let's look at it this way. Right here was April 1st, right? Yes. On April 1st, EOS had a $4.4 billion market cap with Bitcoin Cash at 11.5. When you look at it that way, you realize it is not quite, but about 2.3 times growth that it needs to pass Bitcoin Cash. Here we can see something very similar. Here we can see it's only 2 times growth. Here we can see that it is getting very close, still with just over 2 times growth. Here we can see it's again getting very close, this time with much less than 2 times growth. And now we are seeing it still very close to Bitcoin Cash. This will be interesting to see how it plays out because, as you guys know, I'm not very bullish on Bitcoin Cash, but at the same time, I'm not very bullish on EOS. I think EOS is a fantastic idea, but they have yet to pull through the product. Seeing something like an actual product release would be really helpful. Neo has a product release. Ethereum has a product release. Both of them are subpar. Ethereum is already widely adopted. Neo is also getting kind of adopted. EOS has a lot of hype for the product because the product would be really good if it could be prepared. Same with Cardano. And we are seeing Cardano start to release his product in a good way. We are also seeing Lambda, right, our low microcap cryptocurrency, start to release its product as well, having massive upwards growth and showing the world that it is a strong infrastructure cryptocurrency as well. That's all I have to say for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching the weekly cryptocurrency review. Please check out our Discord if you want to talk with me and other analysts live. You can check us out over there in the description below, and have a great day, guys.